Hey, good morning, guys. Josiah here at easycaters.com. And today I just want to walk everyone through the new relative strength indicator on our website. You can see just released it. It's on sale for a few days since we just put it up. And so you can find that on the website. There are a bunch of screenshots that kind of walk you through how everything works, but I wanted to go ahead and do a quick video as well to explain all the settings and everything. So you can see on my chart here, I've got two of the three scripts that come with it, along with the column, and over here on the scanner, I've got the scanner loaded up as well. So those are the items. There are actually 5 items that come with this currently. We'll probably be adding more as time goes on. And of course, prior purchasers always get access to any new updates and upgrades that we release to any of our products. So you can see I've got the comparison candles here, which allows you to compare your currently charted stock with, say, any kind of market index, the SPY, the QQQs, whatever you want. Then you have a relative strength graph down here that actually divides the stock that you have loaded by the index and plots the relative strength in either candles or bars or normal line graph. And then over here on my other chart, I have a relative strength for each sector of the market, a comparison of the different sectors to see which one is stronger based on, from any point in time. So currently I have it set to the highs of the market back in on I think it was 219 of 2020, but you could anchor it to the lows of the market on 323. You can also go in here and then anchor it to the start of the day, the start of the session, the week, the month, the year, etc., or any specific date that you want. So as far as a walk through the settings of the comparison indicator here, you've got the different graph styles that you can use. So you can see I can change it to bars here, or I can change it to candles. So you can kind of get an idea of what the price action actually is for that those underlying symbols. Or you just keep it on a simple line graph of the closing prices. So if I wanted to, and I have it currently on custom date mode, but I could change it to yearly mode. And so you can see it resets here at the beginning of the year, and everything is anchored to that date. And if we were to go back in time here to the prior year, you can see everything reset there as well. So you can compare it year to date, month to date, week to date, etc. Or we can again just choose a specific date. So if I wanted to change this to 3/23, which was the lows of the market, that would anchor it to that, except for I need to change the mode real quick here back to custom date. And so now you can see it's anchored to the very lows of the market back here. And so you can see how much every sector has regained since that time, and see which ones are gaining faster or slower and so forth. You can see here the market index is whatever symbol you've chosen is here in gray, and so you can see that it's kind of in the middle, and you can see which symbols are above it and which symbols are below it. So that tells you immediately which symbols are stronger than the market, which sectors are weaker than the market. So that's a good reference point. And of course, you can change all of these colors and everything. You can turn any of these labels on or off, change all their colors, change the symbols that are associated with each of those. And you can turn these speech balloons, the labels over here, on or off. And if you want to base it off of the cues, you can do that. And so now you'll see that it'll plot based on the cues, and the cues have been pretty strong up here, you can see. And we can go back down here and we can see you can change all the labels associated with each of these, the text that's associated with each label up here, and this also controls the text associated with each balloon over here. You can turn any of the plots on or off here. if you don't want to use a particular symbol. You can turn all the labels off with this setting. You can see those all disappeared. You can turn all the balloons off with this setting. And so now you just have the graph itself. And then if you do want to use the balloons, but say you want to, you don't want them right on the edge of the chart where it's a little crowded or something like that, you can set them back in time, by a certain number of bars. So this is 20 bars back from the end of the chart. I could set it 100 bars back from the end of the chart. And so you can see it moved all the labels back here. So that can help you clear up some room. And you can see here I have some expansion area on my chart, and it just stretches the value straight across that so you can see where it is on the side graph, and the balloons would normally anchor to that point as well, so that would give you a little bit of extra clearance or room there so you can see what's going on. As you can see, so the graph ends right here, but the values are stretched out and the balloons are on top of that. So you can kind of provide yourself some room there by adding some expansion area to your chart in chart settings here in the time axis. If you set, a certain number of bars to the right. So you can see how I added 10 more bars there. So that's how that works. Just real quick, you can, there's also a zero line, which is where it starts. You can turn that on or off, change the color, etc. You can change the colors associated with each symbol here. Each one is numbered, so you just find the one that you want to change, look up its number down here and change it. Same thing with the text, the label that's associated with that one, you would just look up the number for the one you want to change it, so forth. So the numbers are all associated here as well when you turn them on or off. So that's how you control that. So that is the comparison, the sector comparison relative strength indicator. Now switching over to the other two, you can see again we've got the market comparison here. You can, if we can go into settings here, I can show you what this does. So the idea here is that there is a basic comparison tool built into Thinkorswim. However, it doesn't have the ability to add any indicators that you could, compare, say, the moving average of the stock to the moving average of the market. Or it wouldn't also have any of these divergence signals that automatically notify you when, say, a 5-period low is taken out on the market, but the stock held up, something like that. So that's a divergence, and these arrows can signal those kind of situations to you. So that's kind of the idea behind this indicator. And here in settings, again, you can change the graph type to a line chart, bar chart, whatever you want. Candles. You can change the symbol that you're actually looking at. I have it on the NASDAQ futures. You can change the lengths of any of the MAs here. We've got 3 different MAs included. You can change the lengths, the offset, average types for each one. And you can also just turn any of those off if you don't want them here in settings. In the plot settings, you can turn them off by unchecking this show plot box. Next, you can color the MAs based on 3 different kind of regimes or whatever strategies for coloration. One is whether or not the price is currently above the MA. So it would be green if above, red if below, and of course you can change that color scheme here. Second is based on the slope. So if the slope, as you define it here, is positive, then it would be green. Negative, it would be red. And then as far as the average location setting, that's based on how the moving averages are stacked up relative to each other. So if the short MA is above the midterm MA and the midterm MA is above the long MA, then it colors positive, but if not, it colors negative. So that's how the 3 different schemes in that work. We've got divergence lengths here. So this is essentially saying look back, 5 bars, and if we make a new low in the stock, but the market doesn't make a new low in over the past 5 periods, then there's a divergence going on. And you've got 2 different lengths here, so you can look for divergences on 2 different time scales. So you can set those time scales here, and then it will plot the signals whenever it sees a divergence between the stock and the market. Now we've got label settings here, and so this controls these labels up here at the top. And so you can turn this slope label on or off, and you can determine what is used to calculate the slope. So by default, the slope is calculated based on the length or the percent change per bar of the longest moving average, the 200 moving average. So it basically just says, from this bar to the next bar, how much is this moving average increasing? And then it plots that amount here. And so you can compare that to the relative strength, and you can also do something like that for your stock and see that, that say the market is on average growing, at 24.24% per day, but the stock is growing at, say, 1% per day. So there's definitely relative strength there over, a long average. But you can also base the slope on either the market itself, the closing price of the market, over a certain number of bars. So you could say, like, between the past 10 bars, over the past 10 bars, the market increased by how much? And so it would tell you that in percentage terms. Or you can base it on the slope of the short-term MA or the mid-term MA. So either of those would work. And again, you can set your slope length for each of those there. Strength divergence labels. So we can turn the indicator comes with divergence labels indicating whenever one of these signals happens, and you can customize which ones are shown and which ones are not. And so you can also turn, you can turn these signals on or off down here, and you can also turn the labels on or off up here. And this kind of explains what each signal is. So instead of just giving an arrow, it gives you a little bit more of a detailed explanation. But anyway, so you can turn the strength divergence labels off if you only want to look at weakness signals. You could turn the weakness divergence labels off if you only want to look at strength signals. And then you can turn all the labels on or off here with this no setting, all of the divergence labels on or off. Then we've got multiple time frames here that you can evaluate the percentage change for each time frame that you choose here. So the first one is day, and it goes week, month, quarter, year. So this is day, week, month, quarter, year. And because we're in January right now, the month, quarter, and year are all the same value because they all represent the same amount of change. But as we roll over here into February, of course, this will update. The monthly will be different than the quarterly and so forth. So anyway, so you can change the time frames here, and you can turn those time frames on or off. You can change the text that goes before each value here. Right now, I don't have any text in front of most of them, just in front of the first one. But you can customize that as needed. And then down here, we've got the signal settings. So the signals are for these arrow signals. And you can change the style of those, of course, from arrows to any of the other settings. But we've got a place where you can choose where the signals actually show up. You can plot them on the price itself. You can plot them on the first MA, the second MA, or the third MA. You would just choose that here. And you can also, additionally, you can plot them on the high divergence level or the low divergence level. So, if you have a 5-period low that you're looking for divergences at, you can actually plot it on the 5-period low. So that's an option as well. So then here we've got where you can turn basically all the signals on or off at once. You can choose either to show strength divergences or weakness divergences or neither. And that is it for the signal settings. And again, each of these has a little bit of an explanation if you click the tooltip hint over here on the right. Then you can turn alerts on or off here. You can turn alerts for strength signals on or off, weakness signals on or off, and just all in general, you can turn the market MA divergence signals on or off. So that's how all the settings work. And we've got all the plots down here. You can customize how the plots show up, what they look like, what the style is, and so forth. Change this color schemes for the moving averages. Uncheck this show plot box to make any of them disappear. Your alerts, you can individually control them down here. Change the text that shows up in Message Center, change, uncheck this box to turn it off, change the sound that's played, and so forth. And then you've got the label colors right here that you can adjust as needed. So that's the market comparison indicator. So now I'm going to switch to the relative strength indicator. And so if we say go over here to GME, so you can see we've got a really strong stock here. And if we go into settings, you're going to see that a lot of the settings are very similar to the market comparison. Again, you've got your graph type, you've got your symbol that you can choose, moving average lengths, types. You can color the moving averages the same three different ways. You've got your divergence length again, 5 and 10. Then you've also got a couple of other lengths here that allow you to look for breakouts in relative strength relative to longer term or whatever term you want. But the divergence lengths are the way I use it, they're typically shorter. And so I look for like a 5-period low in the market being made where 5-period relative strength doesn't make a new low. Things like that. So, but for the breakouts, we're actually just looking for the relative strength breaking to a new high over the past X number of days or bars. And so you can specify that number of bars here. I've got my cat going crazy here in the background. But so next we got label settings again. You can show the slope label or turn it off. You've got your determination of where, how you determine the slope itself, either based on the price graph, the relative strength graph, or the market graph, either one. The price graph being the stock itself. Then you've got, you can determine the slope based on the moving averages as well. And you can change the length over which the slope is calculated there. Now, strength divergence labels, so you can say, I only want to look at strength or weakness labels. You can choose which ones you want here, or both, or neither. And then you can also choose, okay, I only want to look at divergences between the market and the stock, or divergences between relative strength and the stock, or divergences only between relative strength and the market. So you can determine that, which signals you like the best, and then turn on the labels only for that type of signal. Again, you've got breakout labels here that you can turn those on or off. So that turned off the breakout labels. Okay, show breakout labels, show relative strength time frame labels. So this again is these different time frames that you get to choose, and just look at the change in relative strength over those different time frames. So relative strength has grown by 52% just today. Relative strength for the week has grown by 56%. For the month, quarter, and year, it's grown by 242% over the course of, since January 1st. So that's what that means. And you could change the time frames here and change the text that's associated with each of these labels. So next we've got the signal settings, where you can, again, these relate to the arrows that plot down here and show you when there's a divergence signal or a breakout signal. And so you can choose which MA the signals are plotted on. Currently they're plotted on the middle MA, the second MA. You can choose which one. You can plot them on the relative strength high of the price graph here, below, any the divergence high, which would be like the 5-period high, divergence high 2, which would be the 10-period high, and so forth. So you can choose any of those levels that you want to plot signals on. And then you've got where you can turn the breakout signals on or off, strength divergences only, weak divergences only. So then you can choose to show relative strength divergences only, relative weakness divergences only. You can kind of slice and dice the signals in different ways here. So again, you can, just like with the labels, you can only show market versus stock divergences, or relative strength versus stock divergences, or relative strength versus market divergences only, or pick and choose which one of those you prefer. And then again, you got your alert settings down here. You've got all the different types of alerts that you can turn on or off as needed all at once. Or down here in the alert subpanel, you can turn them on or off individually with this enabled checkbox. You can also, again, change the text that's displayed for each one and the sound that's played for each one. Plots, again, you can customize the look of each different plot in the graph down here, turn any of them on or off as needed. And you can change the colors of the labels up here in the top, down here in the global settings. So that's the 3 different indicators that come with this. And the idea here is that you're just trying to find the strongest stocks to play, and you only want to be in stocks that are moving up faster than the market is, so that you have a better chance of outperforming the market. So the next, we have the column over here. And so you can see it basically, it's a signals column, and it shows you whenever there is an arrow showing up down here on the lower part of your, in the relative strength graph. And so basically you can go in here, and just like with the indicator, you can set your divergence lengths from 5 to 10 periods, which are, and your breakout lengths here. And so these all match up by default with how the indicator comes. You can change the symbol here that you're comparing to. And then basically it will color green, different shades of green for the different types of signals, different shades of red for the different types of weakness signals, and then black if there's no signal on it currently at all. Then for the relative strength scan, this is again just looking for these signals, the different types of divergences and breakouts. And so in here in settings, again, you can make sure your settings all match the column that you have, how you have it set up, and the indicator, how you have it set up. And then you would basically, at the bottom, you can choose which type of signal you want to use. So you can look for just any signal in any direction, any type, any length, anything at all. You can look for any type of signal using this first line. If you want to activate a different line, you can just put a hashtag or a pound symbol in front of that, the active line, and remove it from the one that you want to use to activate that line. And so now it's just looking for any divergence signals, and that's excluding breakout signals. So this would look for breakouts and breakdowns both. This would look for only bullish breakouts. This would look for only bearish breakdowns. And then you can look for any strength signal. This would be on the length of 5 and the length of 10. This would only be the length of 5. This would be only divergent signals of the length of 10. So that's how that works. And the same thing with weakness. You can look for weakness on the 5 period or the 10 period, or whatever other numbers you set them to, or only the first period, the 5 period, or only the 10 period. So that's how you activate those different types of scans. So you just kind of go through here and choose which one you want to look for, and activate that line by removing the hash symbol in front of it and putting one in front of whichever one was previously active, because you can only have one plot signal or plot statement active at one time. You can go through here and choose which one you want to use, and then hit OK and hit scan. And so this should find us if there's any breakouts that happen. And so we can see GME, of course, it just had a breakout like we were looking at a moment ago. PLTR had a relative strength breakout. Let's pull up the chart for that. So you can see here, relative strength, the relative strength broke out of its 5-period high here. It also would have broken out of its 10-period high, it looks like. So those are all examples of breakouts. And so you can see here, the relative strength graph broke out above its 5-period and 10-period high here as well. So that's kind of what it's looking for. So that's how the scanner and the column work. You can add the column over here as well. And you can kind of then see which color is associated with each signal, and sort your results by that, and see which ones you want to actually pull up and look at. And you can see it took a second to load, but now you can see which ones are. And so all of these are breakouts, so they're very bright colored green, and so you can see what that looks like. So now I've switched to a bearish breakdown of the 5-period low, and you can see here what that looks like. The column loads all red signals, and we can go over here and see relative strength actually took out the low of this, the 5-period low, before reversing. So it put in a new low and then reversed on the day. So that is a valid breakdown on the 5-period. You can see here, this one put in a new low, new 5-period low, and probably 10-period low as well. And so that's a bearish relative strength breakdown as well. So all these, you can see that the column is indicating the bearish breakdown, and the scanner was able to find these different types of relative strength breakdowns. Regardless of what the stock itself is doing, even if the stock is holding steady, but the relative strength itself is breaking down, then that would show up in the scan, and that's kind of the divergence signal that you want to look for. So you can see this put in a new low on the relative strength, but it held on the daily, on the actual price graph itself. So that's showing that the stock has a little bit extra weakness that may not be apparent on the price graph itself. So that's how that works. Hopefully this walkthrough, I know it's a little bit long-winded, but hopefully it helped. And if you guys have any questions about anything, send me a note on the website, easycaters.com. Please go check it out. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.